It's kind of crazy to think about that this woman here,
Tiffany Henyard, will be sworn in as the village's first woman mayor. Henyard won 82% of the vote.
has somehow turned into the most disgraced political figure in America today. Now, the last time we talked about Tiffany Henyard, we documented a couple of just corrupt, egregious, lowball, grimy things that she was doing that was going unchecked and being held unaccountable. But it looks like that's no longer the case, because since our last video on Tiffany Henyard, we've gotten some critical updates that's going to be satisfying news to you, but very scary to Tiffany Henyard. Like, for example, y'all remember the trip to Las Vegas that Tiffany Henyard and her posses took on taxpayer dimes? How they ate steak and lobster for a week and stayed in the most luxurious hotels, in which she denied, right?
WGN Investigates obtained copies of statements that reveal village officials have spent more than $24,000 at restaurants in just 1 year, including this Midlothian barbecue joint and a South Holland sub shop. Other questionable expenses include the streaming service Hulu, flights to Texas, Alabama, and Missouri, and hotel rooms in nearby suburbs, including Madison and Elk Grove Village, plus thousands of dollars spent at a hotel in downstate Pontiac.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
Imagine being a resident of Dolton and not being able to afford heat during the wintertime, but you look up and these Geechee Negroes, who are your town officials, is spending your hard-earned tax money on crawfish. But it looks like since our last update, that Las Vegas trip where they splurged thousands of dollars in taxpayers' money has went from unethical to criminal.
Very overwhelming. At first it was like it was just me by myself. And a year later for me to see y'all standing with me here for thank you so much, Survivor. This means so much to me. But I still want everybody to know I'm standing with you too if you're a survivor with me. Please come stand with me.
That's Fania Dukes. Fania Dukes accompanied Tiffany Henyard and her right-hand man, Andrew Holmes, on the Las Vegas trip. Now, while on the Las Vegas trip, Tiffany Henyard right-hand man, Andrew Holmes, allegedly forcefully raped this woman.
In addition to his work as a community activist, Holmes serves as a trustee for the Village of Dolton. The civil lawsuit against the Village of Dolton, Thornton Township, Tiffany Henyard, and Holmes himself alleges that Holmes sexually assaulted a Dolton Village employee while on a village business trip to Las Vegas in May of 2023. According to the lawsuit, the employee had drinks with Holmes, whom she thought of as an uncle, then passed out in Holmes' hotel room. The lawsuit alleges Holmes then called Dolton Police Chief Byron Miles, who was on the trip as part of Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's security detail. According to the lawsuit, quote, Holmes began describing a host of his exploits from the trip, many of a sexual nature, to Officer Miles. The lawsuit says Officer Miles then began recording the phone call and FaceTimed Holmes. Trustee Holmes then panned the camera toward the bed where Officer Miles could see a woman who was partially undressed. The trustee then moved the camera to various private areas of the woman's body, displaying them on screen and at times moving or removing articles of clothing as he transmitted the images.
This is as 4K evidence as it gets. It's literally 4K evidence. He's on camera showing an unconscious woman in his bed, bragging about how he was able to get her in his bed and clap her cheeks. And is a police officer with this evidence who is then giving it to Tiffany Henyard. And what Tiffany Henyard does with this evidence is just outright deplorable. It's just inhumane and something you would never expect from another woman.
The lawsuit alleges when the woman woke up, she couldn't remember anything that happened the night before and was not aware of the alleged assault until informed by Officer Miles when they returned to Dolton. The lawsuit alleges that when the female employee became aware of what allegedly happened, she requested to speak to Mayor Henyard. Henyard allegedly told the woman, quote, if the information got out, Henyard would be ruined and all of the work she had done would be lost. Despite assurances that Henyard would handle the situation, the lawsuit alleges the female employee was eventually fired by the Village of Dolton. Officer Miles alleges his duties were diminished and he faced retaliation at work.
Outside of the legalities of this, can we just sit for a moment and think about how unethical and cruel that is, yo? Another woman fires a grape victim because she doesn't want the news to get out that she was raped on her watch and have it affect her public image. She was more concerned about her public image and how people will view her than the mental health, the physical well-being of a grape victim that took place on her watch.
But I at least knew I got a man with me, I'm gonna make it home. I ain't even gotta worry about try to go on the strip by myself. I legitimately thought that, you know, I was gonna make it home. Until my last memory was me waking up in his room.
Her situation is just one of the many wrongful termination lawsuits against Tiffany Henyard and the Village of Dolton. Now, the last time we spoke on Tiffany Henyard, we talked about this Tiffany Henyard Foundation, this charity that she has, in which she was essentially using the charity to money launder thousands of dollars into her charity fund, right?
So last fall, Henyard did something that would seemingly generate some good publicity, helping establish the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation to help breast cancer patients. And on the very day the charity was chartered, it received a huge donation, $10,000. From the Thornton Township Board, which Henyard presides over.
Since we last spoke on it, Tiffany Henyard will go on Roland Martin and come up with quite possibly the most pathetic excuse for why she's money laundering taxpayers' fund. She will say, like, the foundation, the Tiffany Henyard Foundation, was just named after her because the people who started the foundation wanted some publicity, but she has nothing to do with the foundation at all.
You have a charity that from the Attorney General's office is, I understand they sent a cease and desist letter to your foundation?
I don't know nothing about that. I'm not crazy. I'm not
You have a
deranged.
Tiffany Henyard Cares, your foundation. So the Attorney General's office hasn't reached out to you regarding your foundation?
So I want to set the record straight. I don't have a foundation. I am a supporter of anybody that's struggling with cancer. My mom had breast cancer, and I'm always push anybody that has that. If someone uses my name to push their charity, or if you say this is Tiffany t-shirt, people gonna buy it. Because right now I'm considered what? Clickbait. People make money off of my name by views. So you just take my name.
You say you don't have a foundation.
I do not. And that's
Okay.
why I tell everybody, go do your research. I'm not on anything.
It didn't appear that Roland Martin really had any interest to push back with Tiffany Henyard, so she was able to weasel her way out of the grip of Roland Martin, but she weaseled her way right into the grip of the FBI. Because the update is, the FBI is like, hold up, bro. Like you're not that smart, right? Like, you trying to money launder and weasel and use EINs to sort of like finesse your way into stealing money is not gonna work on us, bro. Now the FBI has subpoenaed Tiffany Henyard in regards to that charity of hers that she's using to money launder.
Tiffany Henyard. One subpoena focuses entirely on Henyard, including two businesses she owns, a restaurant and a property management company, as well as Henyard's political fund and the charity bearing her name. It asks for all records, including personnel files, wage and tax statements, time and attendance, records of work performed, contracts, and checks written to cash.
The mayor and the township supervisor, who are one and the same, appear to be the primary focus of the investigation.
Tiffany Henyard is a deplorable human being, a weasel extraordinaire, but I truly respect the persistency and the determination to finesse. Like, yo, Tiffany Henyard right now knows for sure, right, that the FBI is looking into her, they're investigating her. She knows for sure that they're probably going to arrest her pretty soon, but she's still dedicated to finessing. Like, she won't stop. And you know, right, like the $150,000 Tahoe that Tiffany Henyard bought on taxpayers' dime. You know that Tahoe, right?
This is going to be the narrative when we go broke. You're going to say, I wasn't even on the bank account. The trustees did it. When at the end of the day, you're making decisions and spending money and then get mad when we don't approve it because it's not financially sound. I sat here and looked at a lease that y'all was paying $149,000 for one of them trucks. You make that's like when you 19 years old and you go get a car and the interest rate 27%. That makes absolutely no sense. You're
Please
not
state
making
facts.
great finance. Excuse me?
Please state facts.
But let me tell you, here it is, dated December 27th, 2022. The cash price of a 2023 Chevy Tahoe, $93,216.71. Interest and APR, $55,929.49.
Now, despite the fact that Tiffany Henyard lies, right, to weasel out of accountability for all the frivolous purchases, the FBI has a particular interest in the purchase of that Tahoe, the purchase of the big billboards promoting Tiffany Henyard on taxpayer dimes. Well, the FBI has now officially launched a probe into all her affairs.
A new federal subpoena is targeting Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's spending. A Dolton trustee confirms the subpoena is seeking records about trips made by village officials and expenses they were reimbursed for, as well as payments made to Henyard and the village's chief administrator.
Now, if that wasn't bad enough, simultaneously, while the FBI is investigating and probing into Tiffany Henyard, well, Dolton have privately hired ex-mayor, right, Lightfoot, to investigate Tiffany Henyard for crimes. Because Lightfoot, who is a mayor, understands what is within the reach and the powers of a mayor and what is outside of the scope of a mayor and what's illegal or not.
In Illinois, a former mayor will investigate the allegations of misused public funds of a sitting mayor. Dolton trustees hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot as a special investigator to investigate the allegations against Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Lightfoot will lead an independent investigation into corruption claims, reckless spending, and retaliation.
As the walls closing on Tiffany Henyard, she knows she's going to jail. She knows her time is coming. She's dedicated to taking as much people with her as possible. Now she's going on a firing spree of anybody who opposes her in Dolton. And she's also retaliating against businesses and trying to close down as many opposition businesses as possible.
Someone seen you go in there, and in 2 hours after your story airs, that police are at both of these establishments.
More controversy in South suburban Dolton. Two popular bars shut down by police just hours after the owners talked to Fox 32. A village trustee also says it's because they're not financially supporting Dolton's mayor, Tiffany Henyard.
Here's Dean Plaka with the latest on the corruption investigation.
Is it coincidence or retaliation? Both of the Dolton bars that were raided and shut down last night, we visited the day before as part of our ongoing investigation into allegations of political corruption in Dolton.
Reckless, irresponsible, illegal, unethical, unhinged behaviors like this is the reason why Tiffany Henyard has racked up more lawsuits for herself in the city of Dolton than their team of lawyers is willing to handle. Yo, she racked up so many lawsuits down from wrongful termination, retaliation, corruption, that her team of lawyers are saying, bro, y'all not paying us enough. Bro, y'all don't have the money available for us to handle the amount of lawsuits that this lady has racked up for you guys. So even a team of lawyers have dropped Tiffany Henyard in Dolton.
Tonight for embattled Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. The law firm representing Henyard and the village of Dolton in a slew of lawsuits is asking to withdraw from those cases. The Delgado Law Group says it's not being paid, so it'll stop appearing in federal and state court and defending Dolton and Henyard in 22 different lawsuits. In a letter to Henyard and trustees obtained by Fox 32, the law firm says the village is facing millions of dollars in judgments from earlier cases and could potentially be on the hook for millions more in the current lawsuits, and says the village is quickly approaching the point of becoming uninsurable. Last night, we broke the news that the FBI has dropped a new round of subpoenas in its ongoing grand jury investigation into allegations of corruption. On Friday, serving subpoenas on Thornton Township, where Henyard also serves as township supervisor.
Absolutely disgraceful. I don't know where she goes from here outside of a jail cell, but I'm going to keep you guys updated, and I have a few more videos I have to do on Tiffany Henyard, so stay tuned. If you're still watching and enjoy this video, click on this video somewhere on my screen to find out why Rick Ross destroyed Drake for his response to being accused of sleeping with minors. Click on this video right here to find out exactly what the issues was. I'm going to see you guys in this video, right? Out of here, folks. Peace.